Hey everyone, this is Pete, and welcome back to Atari A to Z, a series of short playthroughs of Atari 8-bit games, some which I grew up with and some which are new to me. Today is one of the former. Today we're looking at MegaMania, which was a 1982 release by Activision for the Atari 2600 and was subsequently ported to Atari 8-bit and Atari 5200 in 1983. This game was developed by a guy called Steve Cartwright, who was involved in the games industry for a very long time. So besides working on a bunch of popular Activision games, which included Barnstorming, Sequest, Plaque Attack, Frostbite, and Hacker and its sequel Hacker 2, he then went on to join Accolade in 1988, where he developed the Les Manly adventure games, which were a couple of point-and-click adventure games that helped to pioneer the use of live-action main characters used as sprites. So they used blue screens and live actors digitized to make the sprites and the characters for the game. He then joined EA in 1993, where he was most well known for working on the PGA Tour and the NBA Live series. So he's been pretty prolific over the time, with MegaMania being one of his earlier works for Activision. So MegaMania took 6 months to develop and then a further 3 months to polish, apparently. So it's a game that's sort of been honed to a fine sheen, I guess you'd say. And the original 2600 version was ported to Atari 8-bit by a guy called Glyn Anderson, who, like Cartwright, has been involved in the business for a pretty long time. So Anderson has actually got titles such as Need for Speed, Leather Goddesses of Phobos 2, and the Ghostbusters 2 game for Activision to his name as well. So the guy who did the porting, also a very prolific developer in his own right as well. This is a long-standing favourite of mine, one of my favourite Activision games, and another game that my mum used to like. So let's go play MegaMania.
Okay, here we are with MegaMania from Activision. So, this was a favourite game of my whole family, really, back in the 80s. Developed by Steve Cartwright and adapted by Glyn Anderson, as we said in the intro. So this is something that we all liked because it's a game that's easy to understand, easy to play, and in the case of my mother, it was one of numerous games that she made use of anytime the gentlemen of the Davison household, of which she was outnumbered 3-1, were annoying her. So, here we go. So the concept of MegaMania, if you've never come across it before, is that you're having a space nightmare. And that means that you have an energy cannon and you are being attacked by all sorts of household objects. Beginning with hamburgers. And so it's your job to blast them all before your energy runs out at the bottom. The energy is just a timer, like you don't lose any extra for firing or anything like that. And then when you're done, you get a bonus based on your remaining energy, and you proceed to the next level. And we are fighting... Now, these were cookies in the original, obviously supposed to be Oreos, but they were called ice cream sandwiches in this version. So the scoring in this game is pretty simple. On the first stage, you get 10 points per thing that you shoot, and then 10 points per tick on the energy bar at the end of the level. On this level here, you'll see that we're getting 20 points. Then we get 30 points on this next level. And that continues onwards up until 90 points. And from that point on, everything you do gets 90 points. So the secret to high scores in this is trying to get to those high value levels and then trying to complete them with a decent amount of energy remaining at the end. And we're now on to the stage full of tyres. Now you might notice while I'm playing this that as I move, my shots are actually moving up the screen as well. In 80s fixed shooters like this tended to be referred to as guided missiles. I have a feeling... Ooh, God... Yeah, I have a feeling you can turn that behaviour off, but it doesn't make it particularly obvious how to do that from the title screen. It might say in the manual, but I don't have easy access to the manual, unfortunately. So I couldn't tell you whether or not it's possible to turn it off. I believe you can in the 2600 version, but whether that means you still can in the 8-bit version, I don't know. Oh, we're going to die. There we are, out of energy. But you do pick up where you left off. So that does mean if we just blast this one, we get a lovely huge bonus. And 10,000 points means an extra life, so haven't really lost anything. And we're now shooting engagement rings. So you may well look at this and think, I wonder if there's some symbolism going on there. And I'm pretty sure there's been articles written about this over the years about the concept of this game actually being sort of a manifestation of anxiety over domestic life and that sort of thing. Because now we're facing steam irons, for example. But if you look in the manuals, if you look in the manuals for all the different versions of this, no, all they say is that you're having a space nightmare, and that's the end of it, according to them. But I mean, art is art, so you can interpret things however you see fit. If you choose to believe that this is a manifestation of the author's anxieties over his domestic arrangements, go ahead. I'm not stopping you. However you choose to interpret it, though, this is an excellent fixed shoot-'em-up. One of Activision's finest games from the period. And a game that I still very much enjoy today. Okay, now we're up to the bow ties. This is the last but one of the enemy types. You'll notice that each of the enemy types has their own unique movement pattern as well. So anytime those enemies come up, they will make use of this movement pattern. So mastering this game is a case of mastering all of these movement patterns, as well as dodging bullets, as well as getting a feel for the guided missiles, and completing the stages against the clock. Another extra life there, lovely. And then we have, these are called space dice apparently. They're not just dice, they're space dice. And I always like this level because the fact that they're all tumbling down the screen like this, it makes it feel like you're going through a scrolling stage rather than just shooting enemies that are coming down the screen. A bit of randomness there, one actually unreachable because it's in the border. There we go. And after you've completed all those stages, you go back to the hamburgers. But they have a slightly different movement pattern this time, and they shoot, which they didn't at the beginning of the game. It's still the same basic movement pattern. They're still moving horizontally across the screen, but now the sort of stop, start, and accelerating that they do just gives you an extra little thing to keep you on your toes. They're also very slowly coming down the screen as well. Another extra life. God, I'm ruining it today. Oh God. So these are making use of the same pattern, but it's a more dense formation of them this time. Oh God. So you need to kind of clear a path for yourself this time around, which I'm doing a very poor job of. You need to try and move with them as much as you can. Oh no! It's not going well. I just need to get some of these. Oh. Right, we do have a reasonably safe spot in this area here. This pattern does wrap round, I think, rather than the dice, which you... No! Oh. That's upsetting. Alright, let's play again. Oh wait, you know what? Before I do that... oh, no, that's basic. I'll be right back. Right, welcome back. What I was going to do... there we go. So you press select. You can choose between 1 or 2 play mode. It's turn-based 2 player, so you take it in turns. And you can turn off guided missiles as well by pressing the option key. So select to change between 1 and 2 players, and option to change between straight and guided missiles. So let's have a game with straight missiles this time and see what a difference that makes to my score. So this is your more conventional sort of Space Invaders model where you shoot and it goes straight up the screen. So this one, rather than firing your shots and being able to move them into the path of enemies, in this one you very much need to sort of lead to your enemies. I'm not sure if it's actually harder or not. It's certainly different. It's a different feel to it, certainly. But with guided missiles, there's always the risk that you can actually move your shot out of the way of enemies. Whereas in this one, as long as you time things correctly, you should be alright. Now, those of you familiar with Activision's output in this period may well remember the fact that they used to have a high score club of sorts, where if you scored over a certain amount of points and sent in some proof that you had scored over a certain number of points, usually a photograph of your television, you could get a fancy patch that you could sew onto your jacket and declare yourself a master of MegaMania, or something along those lines. They all had their own unique titles. I can't remember what MegaMania's was, but there was definitely one for MegaMania. And I believe the cut-off score for that was 45,000 points. So I'm not quite there yet, because we got about 32,000 points last time. But certainly getting close. I feel like I'm actually having a bit more success with these straight missiles than guided missiles. I know we are getting a bit short on energy for this stage, but I just feel it's a little bit easier to anticipate where the enemies are going to be like this. I certainly haven't run out of time on any stages yet. Because in this one, it's more about timing than it is about positioning. So if you got your shot timing right, which I emphatically do not there, you can just position yourself and fire at the correct rate and you'll hit everything. I have not mastered this, as you can see. Oh no! That said, because I'm not losing lives, I'm not getting the huge time bonuses, which means I'm not getting those extra lives. Interesting. Strategy. So is what you actually want to do lose a life as close to the end of level as possible and then get a huge bonus? All things we can ponder at our leisure. Oh god. But yeah, that's the interesting thing about a lot of these early arcade style games. Because their mechanics were pretty simple, there are sort of lots of different ways you could approach them. And you may well end up sort of figuring out different strategies that work very well for you for attaining high scores in a particular game. And they might work for you and not for other people. It's really interesting. To me, anyway. Come here. Come here. Come here. No! Oh. You are being troublesome. Die. Please die. There we go. Right. On to the bow ties. He's clearly anxious over his wedding day. He doesn't want to wear a bow tie. He's worried about the engagement ring. He thinks that hamburgers and Oreos might not have been the optimal thing to have for the wedding breakfast. That's clearly what this game's about. I know those sprites aren't any smaller than the others, but they feel a lot harder to hit. Like if you compare it to like these ones, these are lovely big chunky sprites that are really satisfying to shoot. The bow ties feel like you need to be much more precise to hit them. I think my favourite enemies in this, in terms of how they feel to shoot, are the ladybirds. They just have a really nice sort of heft to them. Alright, well, we're at a similar point to where we were last time, and we've got considerably fewer points. So I think the strategy of sort of losing a life towards the end of a level and then finishing the level with as much energy as possible to get a big bonus is actually a reasonably valid one. Because after a certain point... Oh god. After a certain... No! After a certain point, you reckon up extra lives very quickly, so... When you're up to this point in the game where every enemy is giving you 90 points and where every tick on the bonus meter at the end of the level is giving you 90 points as well, you can rack up 10,000 points pretty quickly. Just one more. There we go. Oh, I think we have actually nearly equalled our previous score. That's good. Or have we beaten it? I said 32,000, didn't I? Okay, so these guys are doing something similar to the hamburgers, except they are drifting slowly down the screen as well. And just look at them though, those big chunky bug sprites, they're so much fun to shoot. I think a big part of the satisfaction in this game comes from the sound effects as well. I love that sound they make when you shoot them. Because it's not a normal like explosion sound or anything like that. It's a very distinctive sound that... I mean, it's not unique to this game by any means, but it's a sound that I very much associate with... Oh my god. It's a sound that I very much associate with this game. If you were to play that sound to me, completely devoid of context, I would be able to go, yes, MegaMania. Oh! Oh, we got an extra life. Just as I died. How about that? Oh, this is horrendous, this level. Oh no, it's all over. It's all over. Alright, I think that's probably enough for today. That is MegaMania by Activision for Atari 8-bit. Also available on Atari 2600. And the Atari 2600 version is almost identical to this, it's worth noting. Because Activision were good at Atari 2600. Some might argue they were better than Atari at the Atari 2600. But that's probably something to explore in a whole other series at some point in the future. As always, thank you very much for watching. And I'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please help out the channel by leaving a like or a comment and subscribing. New episodes of Atari A to Z are on Tuesdays and Atari ST A to Z on Thursdays. Check out atariatoz.wordpress.com for a full archive. Do please also check out my other projects moegamer.net, where I explore Japanese and Japanese-inspired games from yesterday and today, and videopackgames.wordpress.com, which aims to catalogue a small but well-formed library of the Philips G7000 Videopack computer, also known as the Magnavox Odyssey 2. You can also support my work on Patreon or buy me a coffee. You can find links to do both down in the video description. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.